What's your worst dating experience? Started fine with a decent dinner. 1 hour later she grabs me by the neck, looks me in the eye, and says, "I want you to get me pregnant." Feeling completely uncomfortable, I said maybe it's best we call it a night. On the way home, she starts screaming and yelling, then undid her seatbelt and began kicking the shit out of me while I was driving her home. Pulled over, called the police, they came pretty quickly and fortunately took her home. Apparently she was on some kind of drugs and they kicked in right when dinner ended. What a night. Met a girl on Craigslist, this was a long time ago obviously. After a few messages we set up a date at a bar downtown. I show up and she's already there with a guy friend. No biggie, I'm thinking, she's just playing it safe. They are at a 2-person table and the place is packed. They already have drinks, so I grab one for myself and put it on my tab. Her and her friend proceed to ignore me. Like I say something and neither one acknowledges anything unless I ask a direct question. Even then I get one-word answers with attitude. So I finish my beer, pay my bill and leave without saying a word. Later I get a barrage of messages about how I'm an asshole for sticking them with their own tab. He took me to see Cloverfield, kept putting his hand on my thigh with me putting it back in his lap. He stopped and I thought he got the message. Instead he tells me he's motion sick and we have to leave now. He staggers out of the theater brushing against irritated people in their seats. Outside, he pukes into the popcorn bucket while I stand there mortified. We go back to his car and he tells me he is too sick to drive for a while. I wait a bit trying to think of what to do when I notice him unbuttoning his pants. I ask him what he is doing and he asks if I want to kiss it. Got out of the car and went into the lobby and called my sister to pick me up. He was still sitting in his car when we left 45 minutes later. Holy mother, that was a bad date. The sad thing is he was cute and funny and I was planning on having sex with him that night. The motion sickness was not an issue, but the groping and being a pig just came out of nowhere. Like, why? Dating app, smallish town Kingston, Ontario. Go on a few boring dates. Q story. Match with girl, she agrees to meet, but there was something odd about the conversation. She was eager to meet, suspiciously eager. I get to the Starbucks and wait inside for 20 minutes past the agreed meet time. Girl texts me, says she running late, asks me to stand outside so she can see me as she drives by. I look over and there's another dude standing on the sidewalk with his phone in his hand. Recognize him from the gym, ask if Hess also meeting a girl and what her name is. Turns out the girl was pulling a fast one on us both as revenge for her girlfriend who we both apparently dated once and didn't like. So him and I went to get ice cream together and sent her a photo of us having a great time. Wish I still had the photo. Op said worst dating experience, not best. A while ago I agreed to meet a Tinder date at a local bar. Things went alright, but I could very much tell she was loaded prior to my arrival. We have a couple drinks, she's made several comments on how cold it is in this bar. Granted, I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans, so I assume she's one of those perpetually cold women with poor circulation. She excuses herself to the restroom, and half an hour goes by. Then near a full hour goes by and I figure one of two things happened. Either she sneakily ditched me, or massively needs help in the restroom. I ask one of the female bartenders to go check on her politely, and turns out she had odded on heroin shooting up in the bathroom, surgical tubing around her arm and everything. I was heavily questioned by police and even put in a squad car to the bartenders vouched for me, and I wasn't tied to a drug case I had nothing to do with. She ended up passing later that night. Definitely worst first date ever. I agreed to go on a date with an older coworker from my first job at a supermarket. I was 20, he was 27. He took me to lunch and didn't let me order for myself. When the waitress came to ask what I wanted to drink, he cut me off and placed both my drink and food order. I hadn't even glanced at the menu yet. He proceeded by saying I needed to meet his mom and brother soon and how we should get married and eventually have kids. Mind you, he didn't know a single thing about me. I quit shortly after that and he would message me on social media every now and then saying things like my then boyfriend didn't deserve me until I blocked him everywhere. I finally took a girl out I had been pining after for a long time. She had been in a bad relationship for about 2 years, had a kid with the guy, and they finally broke up. I waited a few weeks and asked her out. She agreed. I picked her up with a teddy bear holding some flowers. She loved them and put them in water immediately. We went to a local sushi place, ate our fill and headed out for a movie. Watched the whole movie together in the theater, flirting and touching the whole time. Afterwards, we went driving around and just talked for about 2 hours before I took her home. We made out on her front steps for probably 20 minutes before we finally peeled ourselves away from each other. I went to bed feeling absolutely fantastic. Woke up the next day and texted her good morning. No reply. Whatever, she had a baby. Figured she was busy. Went about my day. Finally got in Facebook during my lunch break and she was back together with her ex already. Haven't talked to her since. Immediately trying to drown the teddy bear holding flowers should have been a warning sign. First date with a guy I met on a dating app. I sat down, and he immediately was like, "Oh yes, you are hotter than your pictures, and you're my girlfriend now." Came on real strong. I chalked it up to keenness at first, maybe a weird sense of humor, and figured I'd at least stick around for a drink or two, feel it out. Even offered to buy the first round, partly as an excuse to get away from the table for a second. I made some unrelated comment to the bartender that made him laugh, and when I got back to the table, dude lost his shit. Wanted to know what I said, whether I thought the bartender was good looking, had somehow gotten insta jealous of this bartender 5 minutes after meeting me. There was no second drink. Well, I had a crush on this guy in high school, and my friend kept urging me to talk to him. I got the nerve to, and apparently he liked me too, or so I thought. We talked often and exchanged notes in the hallway. He asked me to homecoming and I said yes. I was so excited. Bought a new dress and everything, got to the football game and met up with my friend. I finally saw my crush and told him I was gonna go sit with him for the game. He's like, "No, you can't." I'm like, "Why?" Him. "Because I'm with my girlfriend." I was devastated and embarrassed to say the least. Didn't stay for the rest of game or homecoming. Called my dad and he picked me up in front of the school where I was sitting all by myself. A few years ago I met this girl on a dating site who was some sort of zookeeper. She worked with foxes or something. She was nice, friendly, smart, and hot. Had no clue how she could be single. Until we met up, and I found out real quick. She stunk to high hell, all the time. It wasn't too noticeable on our first date, at a mini-golf place, but she certainly smelled a bit off. At our next date it was almost overpowering. I brought it up, and she said, "Oh no, sorry, yeah, for the first date I scheduled that after I had 2 days off, so it wouldn't be so bad, it's just that fox musk is impossible to wash off." Asked her if she showered before our dates and she swore she did. It just didn't help. I guess we didn't last too long. Thanks for watching to RedDoot. Come back for some more content.